pitch. Rejected by Dwight Howard.
Was that a hack at Dwight?
It's Lee Watson Howard. That shot has been perfect all night long. He played 44 minutes. He had 45 points. He had 23 rebounds. Wow.
The power that is Superman. If you foul him that many times, at least that night he cashed in, setting an NBA record for free throw attempts in a single game, 45 points, 23 rebounds, and the Magic could dream about maybe keeping their franchise player. Now, not so much. Welcome back. I'm David Aldridge with Steve Smith and Steve Ashburner. Howard Beck and Ken Berger in the studio in New York. Guys, let's start with Dwight Howard. Everything has to be on hold until Orlando decides what they want to do with Dwight Howard. It's a very difficult decision for them because he's not really given them any indication that he wants to stay past the end of this season. So what criteria do they have to make a decision?
Well, first of all, it's getting very late. And second of all, I think he has given them an indication. He could have put this whole thing to rest. He could have made it very clear he wants to stay. His reluctance to do that, to me, says he doesn't plan to stay. Then it's just a matter of, do you move him now or do you move him later? Or try to get something, in a sign and trade later, rather than be left high and dry. I think that they need to make the move, by the trading deadline.
I totally agree. I think you said it right, D.A. There's been no indication from Dwight Howard. We understood Carmelo Anthony did not want to be in Denver.
Right.
I don't think Orlando can afford to do what Cleveland did, play it by chance, play it by ear. I think when you have a Dwight Howard situation, I think you just have to move him. Obviously, they might not get the best pieces to come back, but I think you have to get something. I think it all comes up to Dwight. Like Steve said, if he would have indicated what does he want in Orlando to stay, he hasn't even indicated that. So I think right now Otis has to move him before March 15th.
We're going to bring the New York guys in a second, but I just want to ask you this real quick. I keep hearing increasingly Orlando's thinking about keeping him. And that means he's going to have to, if he wants to leave Orlando next summer, give up $30 million in salary. You played, you got paid. Tell me a player that's going to walk away from $30 million. That's a lot to give up.
Yeah, you said it's just too much. I think if you start looking at it, some guy's situation, do I go here, do I go here? It's $4 or $5 million, depending on where the guy is financially. But $30 million, you have to move him by March 15th because I don't think he would take that hit.
Yeah. Howard, let's go to you in New York. The Nets, another team that's right in your wheelhouse, obviously the team that most people think will pull the trigger and make a deal for Dwight Howard. They seem to think they're going to get him. Somebody's going to be wrong on this. Do you have any indication who's going to be wrong?
No indication as of this point, and I think obviously we're all going to know a lot more in the next couple of weeks, but this is a really dangerous game that both the Nets and the Magic are playing because clearly Dwight and Darren want to play with each other somewhere. That may be Brooklyn, that may be Orlando, that may be Dallas. And if both of those teams are, kind of trying to bide their time, see if they can hold on to these guys, they could both end up losing them. Dallas could end up being the big winner in July. It's a dangerous game, but I want to point out one thing here, which is that, when Cleveland lost LeBron and Chris Bosh left Toronto, at least those teams had the benefit of sign and trades. What the NBA did in this CBA was one of the stranger aspects of this. They actually took away all the advantages for the player to participate in a sign and trade. So those guys could walk away absolutely for free, no picks, no anything coming back, because there's really no incentive anymore for them to do a sign and trade. They can get the same deal whether they walk away or do a sign and trade. So that's a problem for these teams as well.
Kenny, do you have it's going to be a very difficult decision for all of these teams. Any sense that Orlando feels like they may not only be able to keep Dwight, but maybe lure Darren Williams down there? I know that's at least one scenario that's been talked about.
Well, that's possible. They have to look at, over the next couple of weeks, anything and everything that will appease Dwight Howard, convince him to stay. They're going to throw out everything, every idea against the wall and see if it sticks. Steve Nash, I've thought for a few weeks, if he goes ahead and finally tells the Phoenix Suns, yes, I'm ready to get traded, I believe they will try to help him out. And, boy, Orlando would be a perfect spot for him, and that might entice Dwight. But, I think all the points here have been right on point. You have to remember as well that throughout this whole process of sort of, superstar musical chairs over the last couple of years, no team has actually put its foot down and said, you know what, we're not trading you. You're our asset, and if you want to leave, you go knock yourself out, and by the way, take a $30 million haircut.
Yeah.
And it will be interesting to see if Orlando will be that first team, and it'll be interesting to see if Dwight Howard and or Darren Williams will be the first players to walk away from that kind of money as well.
Howard, let's go back to you real quick. You know the Lakers very well. You know Kobe Bryant very well. He came out a couple of weeks ago and said, look, if you're going to trade Pau Gasol, trade him. If not, stop talking about it. If they do trade Pau Gasol, what will his reaction be?
Wow. It's not going to be any better than it was when they traded Lamar Odom for nothing, that's for sure. You know, it's a dangerous game you play when you're upsetting your superstars. Many teams have seen, and Kobe is one that you might want to upset the least. So, you know, obviously we don't know what Pau would be going for, so maybe it just depends on what the outcome is. But look, Pau Gasol was the guy who made Kobe happy again, who got him back to win 2 more championships. And let's not forget that Kobe had his own trade demand, you know, not, 6, 7, 8 months before Pau got there. So those two are very important to each other. Kobe's ability to win a 6th title and to do whatever he can the next couple of years to get back to the finals is very important to him. You know, if you don't get back, unless Pau is being traded for Dwight Howard, I don't see any scenario where Kobe Bryant's going to be very happy.
Smitty, let's talk about some of the other guys that are out there. Chris Kaman, obviously, people think New Orleans is going to trade him. Luis Scola has been mentioned in Houston. They're trying to get a big man, probably Gasol. And then Michael Beasley in Minnesota, a talented guy, but obviously some off-court questions and issues. Do any one of those guys stand out from the others as a guy that you would say this guy could really help a team down the stretch?
You know, I think Scola for sure. I think Chris Kaman for sure. I think Michael Beasley is still that question mark. What his potential off the court, you know, messing up the chemistry. But I think when you start to look at Luis Scola, you said it best. I think it's to go to Pau Gasol in the Lakers trade. I think Kevin McHale is still trying to get that big man that he can anchor his team and build around. But I'm real interested in Chris Kaman and what the Hornets do, because you start to look at some of these teams that can get to that next level. I think Chris Kaman is that one player that can help them. What you have to give up for him will be what we have to see. But Chris Kaman is a guy, I think, you add a center into this league where some of these teams, say a Boston, it changed the landscape and the dynamics of a Boston Celtic.